welcome to another edition of GFB. That's Grown Folks Business on a Thursday evening. Some of the usual suspects, and then one person that's corresponded more so over the chat function. But Mr. J. Dwayne Garnett is in the house and on the screen, and glad to have you here. And Brother Mike is in transit, so he's getting his self together. He might pop up on the screen. Bob, always good to see you. Gregory and Julia, always. Danya on the ones and twos, keeping us doing what we do. Appreciate you. This evening's conversation is going to be centered around something I kind of touched on some weeks ago. Talked about some different things about philosophy, and I think I played some of Seneca's quotes and things of that nature. Talked about Stoicism. Dr. Elliott and I think were on that broadcast, and it was fruitful to me. I always enjoy talking about the human condition and what may come and all of those things, and what we have to do to kind of deal with our existence here on this earthly plane, and how we function and wrestle with what it is to be a human being, the human condition. So tonight's topic is when did you discover who you are and what you are about? So take a moment to kind of process that question if you need to, but just to give you an idea of the way I look at it. If you think of yourself as a child, we always hear that sponge analogy. You're a kid, you're just kind of soaking everything in. You need to be told what to do, guided along, find out that falling down hurts, that the stove is hot when you touch it if it's on, and all of those wonderful things. But after you mature, get a little older, and find your way through a bit of life, you would be remiss if you did not begin to understand who you are and stand in that and move in that and what you're about. So in essence, one of the questions I'll get to is, do you have a code? But that is, to me, what is establishing who you are when you're figuring out how you're going to navigate this thing called life and what you're going to be as you do so, how you're going to treat other people, what is your level of integrity. So the question may not be one that some people are comfortable answering. Some people may not have reached that place where they're solid in their foundation of who they are. So you can be a work in progress. I was actually hoping that we got Khalid this evening, and I saw he texted, but maybe he'll pop in. I think this is a generational type question. I think this is a question of certain epochs you reach in life type question. I don't think this is one that's just completely answerable, especially if you understand that you're constantly supposed to be taking in information and constantly supposed to be wrestling with different ideas and constantly supposed to be rediscovering and redefining and reinforcing who you are, because it's not an easy walk. You got to deal with things that you never saw coming at certain points. So something I'll start us off with is a quote, and I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's one that I heard, and I really it resonated so much to me, and it kind of encapsulates the question of when did you discover who you are and what you're about. So the quote is, it's never too late to be who you thought you were. So that's something that can be incorporated in the answering of this question as we go around the room. It's never too late to be who you thought you were. So you can definitely start out one way, have all of these ideas and thoughts about what you want to do and what you want to give to the world, and you could fall short or take a detour. But it's never too late, as long as you're breathing air, to be who you thought you were. So keep that in mind. And one more aside about the idea of when it comes to young people and kids in this thing, this thought process, these ideas that we're about to start discussing. I don't know if you think about it in this way immediately, but it came to me that way when I started thinking of tonight's topic. When you're a kid, the constant question you get from elementary to middle school, and what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? So if we think about that in terms of who you want to be as an individual, removing the career ideas from it, but being the type of person you want to be, what kind of person do you desire to be? When did you discover who you were and what you're about? So I'm going to leave all of that out there. I think I set us up pretty well for success. And Julia, I see you nodding in some forms of agreement. So I'm going to come to you guys first, Gregory and Julia. You can start us off by answering the question, when did you discover who you are and what you're about, or just wrestling with anything that I just shared. I think it's all worthy of some level of consideration, and I know you guys will do well with it.
Great. Gregory, you want to lead off?
Felton, I don't think that there's ever been a more important topic that you've ever touched on than this one tonight. Who we are. Don't we all wrestle with that every day? What motivates us moment to moment? What's motivating me? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? In other words, I think that you've touched on something that really can't be answered tonight, that needs to be wrestled with or dealt with day by day. And I think you've done well to choose this subject for tonight. I would like to add one particular thought, though. It's something that I consider maybe the most important thing in my life is, at some point we have to accept someone as a mentor, as a teacher. We have to look and see an example and then behave as if we have embraced that example, that we're willing to take that example and live it. We can't have all the answers, but we can have a North Star. And that mentor or that example can be that North Star. And we can stay with it with integrity as long as it serves. And if it seems like it's not working, we should always look for that purity of spiritual purpose, that North Star. If that means looking for another mentor, another teacher, then you better be clear that you left your mentor for good reasons and not because you ran away because something got hard.
Julie, you have anything you wanted to add before I said some stuff? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just complimenting what Gregory said, remembering who we really are. Who are we at our essence? And that is, we're souls, we're good people, and to see other people like that. I had a couple of moments in my life. I was fortunate to have two very good parents who were examples. And in fact, on Facebook recently, there was a question, what were your childhood dreams and where are you now, with those dreams? And so when something happened when I was very young that I knew I wanted to help people, and I was 8 years old and traveling by myself on a bus, and there was a lady sitting next to me with a daughter who had hemophilia, and she was traveling to Charleston. We were traveling from St. Augustine to Charleston, and she was going to the medical center, and she didn't know where she was going to stay or anything like that. And as soon as we became friends, and as soon as I got off the bus, I asked my parents if, this lady and her daughter could come home with us because they didn't have a place to stay. And I knew from that point, I cared about people. I wanted to do something to help people. And then like a lot of people, I lost my way and I became interested in boys and drinking and all the things that go with that. Um, but found my way back home, as they say, um, pretty much when I met Gregory. And he had a simple life that was dedicated to serving humanity. And that's what it's all about. You know, if we're not helping each other, if we're not doing something for somebody else, we're taking up space. You know, we need to be reversing the flow, not taking in for ourselves, but reversing. Sorry, I talked too long. But
No, you did not. That was perfect. And I thought if you have more, please do. Yeah, there's no need in putting all that stuff in pyramids that are just covered in sand and dust for millennia. Give it away, share it while you're here. You know, don't just hoard it up and think you can take it with you, because you can't. Gregory, you said something I definitely recognize and hold up in terms of the mentor. Gosh, man, it's so critical. This journey is not one that you can undertake alone. I don't know that a child left to his own devices could do very much in this world and life that is it's so tough. It's so tough, man. And not having someone to set some examples before you to light that dark corner of the space, just so you can see what's coming. Even if you still just run slap into it because you just got to find out for yourself. If somebody's not there to just give you a little feedback of that thing that may come up and bite you, yeah, man, it's invaluable. A mentor, gosh, it's so many. There's other terms for that, and you know, I'm a big fan of apprenticeship, and it doesn't have to be just concerning a trade or task or something that you want to get good at. How many times have you met somebody that may be tasked with teaching you or supervising you or training you for something, and if you have a click and it becomes bigger, then you know that was just where you met for that moment, but it can grow into something else and can turn into another type of training that you weren't even expecting. So yeah, man, good observation there, Gregory. I think that's very applicable. Jay, Dwayne, Garnett, I'm going to come to you next. Definitely recognize the new people in the space. So what did you discover who you are and what you're about, or anything else that might have sparked something that you want to bring to the table?
I think for me, I do believe that we can uncover who we are. And I think that the bigger conflict is escaping the expectation of what we should be and being organically who we are. And for me, that conflict probably came to a head when I was about 37 years old, because I achieved my professional goals. I achieved everything that I thought made me happy, and I was really unfulfilled. So that it becomes that moment where you say, you know what, I have to do what I was created to do because I have to have peace at night. And for me, that's when I stepped out and did everything that I was holding back. See, the thing about it, a lot of times, especially people who are creatives, you feel guilty for being a creative. You feel guilty for seeing the world differently, and people show you stuff. They'll show you their artwork and you like, oh, I was doing that in third grade. And you don't want to compare it, but you feel bad not because you think you better, but you feel like everybody should have these gifts and talents. And so sometimes you hide behind it. Instead of being first, you always take the second. Instead of being the president, you'll be the vice president of a club. You will not show people your full talent. So I spent a lot of my life hiding in the shadows because we were taught to be, quote unquote, humble. But then it dawned on me the biggest disrespect that you could possibly do in life is not live your maximum potential. To leave this earth and be full of all your gifts and talents, all your gifts, just like Mr. Greg and Miss Julia said, like, get with people who can see that light within you and show you how to extract it. And it's your responsibility to be mentored, not your responsibility just to get a mentor. You have to be in a place where you're coachable and teachable. And when you see that you have a handicap, get with people who can leverage that and make it a strength. And for me, it happened at 37, and that's probably the most fearful I've ever been in my life, because then we started our organization, and I stay scared because you're living in your purpose, and everything is sensitive now, because when you're with an organization, when they talk about the school or they talk about the business you work for, they're talking about the business. Well, now you're talking about me. When you scrutinize what I do, you scrutinize the organization, you're scrutinizing me. So it constantly humbles you, because you have to be able to be taught and teachable and coachable, and you have to be mentored by life, even the things you don't want. So I do think it's possible. I think the bigger conflict is the expectation of what you should be versus who you organically are.
Man, I love that observation, and I appreciate you making it personal, man. That's a beautiful thing. And you are absolutely right. The torment that comes at night is unrelenting, won't let you rest. I don't care how much money you made, how much food you had the previous day, who you were able to buy something for, the latest shoes, the latest trends, what. Nothing will give you that rest if you're not living in your purpose in some way, shape, or form. I mean, it will eat you up. Yeah, that was, man. I can't tell you enough how perfect that was. And you were speaking to someone, Jay, who experienced that same level of just inability to really be comfortable in my own skin, because I knew I was not walking in the purpose that I should have been at the times that I was. And man, that fear is unreal. That unknown, that I used to call it riding the waves of uncertainty. It's but how certain was the other thing? So it's, what do you want to do? How much do you trust? Take those steps, and just, you'll figure it out. As crazy as it sounds, you'll figure it out. My old supervisor at the Y used to say, Myrna Wigley used to say, if you don't stretch, you can't grow. And, stretching doesn't always feel good. It feels good for a moment. And you ever stretch so much, you pull something for you, like, oh, snap, so it don't always feel all that great, but you can't grow if you don't stretch. And what you just said, Jay, made me think about that process of like making a sword, or tempering some steel, when you fold it and you fold it and you fold it and you fold it as much as you can, and then you just beat it until it's nearly perfection. You ever see a sword, what it looks like before it becomes a sword? It's just a big hunk of nasty looking metal. You got to put it through something. You got to fold it up. You got to bend it, and then it can become this just awesome tool. I mean, how magnificent is that? And that's what we can do if we just allow ourselves to go through that fire and that little beating that you have to take to become a sword. Bob, I hope that you stay up, and your connection's better. But what are your thoughts on this thing? When did you discover who you are and what you're about, and any other things you want to speak on?
This is I think a big topic, and it's a topic that we struggle with or deal with regardless of where we came from or how we became 15, 18, 21, 37, 48, 60, whatever. I think that for some people, their childhood is a lot harder. For other people, their childhood is a lot easier. That doesn't make growing up easier or harder. Doesn't make discovering yourself easier or harder. It does, but it doesn't. I mean, because it's there's so much to all of that. And And I think that we also go through different times where we get right with ourselves, and then we might get unright with ourselves again, and then get right with ourselves again based upon what we discover, what we're dealing with, what happens, and everything. I grew up in a very controlling, very well-framed world where this is what you do, this is what you don't do, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, this is what you believe, this is what you don't believe. At the same time, I felt that there were a lot of inconsistencies in that. A lot of that didn't make sense. And so when I went to college, one of my personal missions was really kind of like, okay, time out. I need to sort
Hey,
through.
Bob, do me a favor and cut your camera off and just see if that helps with the connection. Just Joe, go down to the bottom and do stop cam and see if that. Now go ahead.
Is that better?
Yeah. Keep talking.
Better?
Keep talking. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to come to terms with what I felt was a consistent value system for me, where I could lay out this, compare it to that, and find consistency and not inconsistency, because if there was inconsistency, that needed to be resolved. So that was something that I did when I had the space and freedom in college to do that, independent of the world in which I grew up. So that was kind of like phase one of, I think, what you're bringing to the table. And then it's a matter of working to live those values and that consistency, whatever comes my way. Well, that's hard too, because lots of things come your way and you're still dealing with family and other situations and circumstances that rear their heads. You can't just set it all aside. It all comes back. It all keeps being in there. You've got to figure out how to manage that. And then when I became a dad, all of a sudden my obligation was outside of me. It was now to be that consistent person, that cared more about my children than I cared about me, and more about what I could do to be a good dad and what that created. And then when my children become married and now they've got their families, it's like, okay, I'm here. What role do I have to play? And how do I, so, you know, and my point of all that is simply that we go through different phases at times in our lives where we have our job to do, to be who we are and to find ourselves and be ourselves. People who say, I'm that way because that's how I grew up, I'm sorry, I don't have patience for that. I just don't have patience for that. If you can't rethink, and what I can tell you is, my sister and I grew up with the same parents. My sister and I are very different people, and we're very different people than our parents were. My boys and I grew up together. I raised my boys. My boys got married. My boys are now, we share a lot of things and we're extremely tight, but they're different people than I am. And they should be. They should be who they're supposed to be. Just like I should be who I'm supposed to be. And so that's
Hey, Bob, it's getting a little worse. I'll tell you what, if you can, just jump out and come back in, but I'm gonna get the mic, but just jump out and come back in and see if that helps. But it was good for a minute and it got a little worse. But yeah, and I'll say this in Bob's absence, really good points about the transformations that come as you get older and deal with other things that can influence who you think you are, or what you thought you're about as you go along. And he mentioned a very important one in terms of when you have kids. And I don't have any, but for those of you that do, I'm sure that altered everything about who you thought you were and what you were about. Speaking of which, Brother Mike has a newborn out there in the world, and I know that's definitely got him thinking about some other things, and coming right to you. Hopefully, even though you're in transit, you hold up. But what's your thought process on this thing, man? When did you know who you were and what you were about?
Well, I love the question because it says, who I am or who I'm becoming to be. Um, that will be how I would phrase that. Is that who I am becoming to be? Um, who I'm becoming to be plays a big factor in a lot of y'all everybody on this screen. We have an intimate relationship that I build a bond with a loving, caring mentors, as they always stated, that's helping me grow to the man that God has created me to be. Um, when did I find this out? In 2011, when I got incarcerated. When I hit rock bottom of life, and I was living in a 6x9 in a gas station bathroom. This is real deal Holyfield. My kids if we talk about kids, I had my two queens then. They was 1 and 2. I left their life at a very, very important time of life. The teaching moments where I got in there and it hurt. I know I get a little soft right there because I think about that every day now. I lost 2 people that have been dear, dear, dear to me, and that was my wonderful grandparents, my parents that raised me, passed while I was incarcerated. The man that I am becoming to be every day came from them. They taught me everything that I know now about caring, about loving, about integrity, about honesty, about be you, be yourself. Don't be nobody else. Be you. They didn't just teach me this; they showed me this. My grandparents showed me love. My grandparents showed me being you. They didn't have to tell me this; they showed me this. So that's how when you ask the question, how do I know who I am? No, how do I know who I'm becoming? I'm steady growing. I'm steady learning because of y'all on this screen help me grow every day. Y'all are the water to this flower or to this harvest. And I appreciate everyone on this screen that plays a part in my transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly, from a returning citizen, not a convicted felon, not a person that made some mistakes in life. My mess is a message. Um, I'm not a bad person. I made bad choices. So them bad choices motivate me now to be a better person in my community. That right now I want to know everyone on y'all on this screen, every square plays a part in my recovery, plays a part in my transitioning, it plays a part in me being the man that God created me to be. And I hope that I do the same return to y'all. As iron sharp as iron. I ain't gonna get spiritual, but I'm just gonna say that is that we all sharpen each other. It's like when we get on the screen doing before we go live, it's a bunch of greeting and love. And man, I ain't seen you, but it's been 6 days, but it feel like it's been a lifetime. But that's the love that we have for one another, man. It's like, man, I can't wait till Thursday to see the wonderful faces and see each other growing to be the person God has created each one of us to be. As y'all stated earlier, we talk about mentors. That's important, man, because each one of us gives each one of us something. And not to just single someone out, but Brother Jay just hit me up this week and said, man, keep being great. Keep being great. And vice versa. I said, man, you keep being great. And each one of y'all does that, man. Brother Gregory, Sister Julia, we always connect. They came all the way there to Laurel Reedsville to see me. Brother Bob said, man, look, let's have dinner. He don't know me from a can of paper. He know that we have the same thing in common, and that's love, and that's caring for our community, and that's making a change and a difference. No matter what it's going to take. Brother Felton said, hey, we're going to get up. And we got up. We went to a coffee shop where the place we was going to meet was down, but we got up. We made some arrangements, and we connected. And that's mentorship. Like, we helping each other grow. So that's why I say who I'm becoming, not who I am, because I'm becoming to be is a daily thing. When I say daily, it takes work every day. Like, I'm a mess, but God is working on me every day. And God and people that He's put in my life to check in on me. I cut off after this. I'm going through a situation. I hit Brother Bob up. I say, how do I get through this situation? I didn't just respond to the situation. The old me would have. I was like, man, I'm gonna figure out, man, here you go. Now I said, let me call my brother Bob, mentor, been through some things, know more than I know. I'm gonna take the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth and listen to somebody that can give me some great advice and help me and save me through this situation. So who I'm becoming to be is the question. I would say I'm becoming to be a better man through everybody in each one of these squares, and not just these squares. I have to mention 2 other people that's not in these squares. Well, 3 is God, and the other 2 is Brother Murray and Mama Portia. That plays a big factor in this thing, especially our queen, Mama Portia. As I stated, she would see me out in public, but she wouldn't see me for who I was right then. She would see me who I could become, who I will become. And that's the great thing. And that's the great thing about each one of y'all on this screen. Y'all don't see me or other people who they are right there. You see them who they can become. And that's what makes it so great about this, is that y'all don't see people for who they are right then. You see them for who they will become in the later days to come. So that's my little 2 cents.
Nah, great, and always appreciate it, Mike. Man, just to say this, while I got your attention, man, you're one of the most humble guys I've encountered, and what you're doing is something that takes bravery. It takes a strong belief in what your convictions are, and seeing society do better and being intricate to it, making that happen. I appreciate you, and just keep, as Jay said to you, keep doing what you're doing, and know that you got a support system and mechanisms, and you got numbers and ways of reaching out to people. So I appreciate you, man. I was going to go back to Bob, and I was going to let him lead off with this, and also finish his other thoughts. But Jay, I'll come to you at the moment. What does self-discovery mean to you? And take that anywhere you want to take it, but I think it's to the point. And self-discovery is not just one thing, because as Mike just alluded to, you go through phases of who you are. So what's self-discovery? What's those click moments?
That's a good question. Man, I'm gonna say this. I actually don't believe you discover who you are. I believe you uncover who you are. So I think it's just a process, and I am spiritual. So I would never lie to you about that. And so my faith did help guide me a lot. But also when I started looking at education, I want to say it was who was it? Was it Aristotle, and who came up with the theory of recollection? Can't remember. It was Aristotle and somebody. Was it Aristotle and Plato, or Aristotle and Socrates?
Are you talking about the cave? I think there was
I know one came up with the theory of reconciliation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know one was Aristotle, so the other one had to be Socrates. One believed that you've experienced everything and you just go through life basically remembering it, recalling it. And the other one believed you go through life as an empty slate and you just learn things. Well, if we say that we are the sum of all and we're all knowing, that means everything is already there and we just have to uncover it or discover it. And I feel like we go through life, what we call discovering is really uncovering who we are, returning to who we are organically. And I think that it's different from other people. Like some people, it has to be a breaking of some sort. Some it may be anger. Some it may be sadness. For me, it was just unfulfillment and disappointment. And I realized that we all process our breaking differently. Some of us cry, some of us scream, some of us even growl, you know. But I think that once you tap into who you are and who your purpose to be, you start taking things more seriously. And one of the things is like time management. You don't waste time not being you anymore. You find yourself not wanting to be in certain groups or certain things. You don't even waste your words. I used to be so mad when I was expected to be someone, whereas now I don't care. I don't waste my words. And you start to understand like why you don't waste your words just on anyone, why you don't really cast your pearls before the swine is because you might need that breath to impact change. And if I'm wasting breath arguing with you, how am I impacting change? How am I being a service? But how am I being a conduit? And so for me, I think that that voyage of self-discovery, as you stated, is really uncovering you. And it's a process of returning because we done spent so much time being cold. It's time to come home. And the closer we come to home, that light shines brighter. Things start to make sense. You start to make more meaningful connections. You start to feel things. You start to become part of things. And you realize the end goal was never independence. It was really interdependence. And I think that that's when you really have really optimized your self-discovery. And I agree with Mike. I think that that's when you start to become laser focused in saying, no, this is what I'm supposed to be. And you don't entertain things that distract your purpose because this is what I'm supposed to be doing because you done entertained it for too long. And I think that self-discovery is a continuum. It doesn't stop. It's always there.
Well stated. That discovery or uncovering, it's the same to me in terms of like when you see somebody discover buried treasure, right? Or you think about the Discovery Channel, that stuff is already there. Somebody just left it, forgot about it. And like you said, it's in you. It's in there. You just got to go back and just dig it up and like be surprised that when that shiny thing shows up and it's you. It's you. And it was always in you. Man, well stated, man. You said a lot of good things in that, and I appreciate every last one of them. I think key again to Gregory's point or earlier about that mentor, to your point about that coming together, not being an individual, but realizing that I think you called it alignment or just when when people recognize they need everybody. You don't just need to be out here willy-nilly on your own. There's pieces here and there, and that alignment happens when you decide this is who I am. I know I'm a decent human being. You're going to probably attract some similar type people. When you, as you stated, Jay, when you stop listening to all the BS and the mess and the arguing about nothing, I think that's that discovery for me is when you realize this is something I might have generally flew off the handle about. I might have lost my temper right here. And you kind of just like, wow, I don't have to. It's really just not necessary. That's a moment of self-discovery, knowing that you actually can have a different reaction than the one you're used to having. One of the worst things somebody can say to me, and I don't know if you guys relate, but when somebody says, you know how I am, it is the worst thing I can hear you say. Well, you know how I am. Do you know how you are? Because if you did, you might do something about it. So anyway, and they're the only people that can. Gregory, Julia, what are your thoughts about this one here? If it resonated at all, I'm definitely all ears to hear. Self-discovery, what does it mean to you?
Gosh, first I want to know what Mr. J. Dwayne does, because I so resonate with everything he's saying, and it's rings so true. I think was just thinking of us as there's like veils and veils and veils that we put up, and part of our discovering who we are is lifting those veils so the light can shine in, so we discover who we really are. Do we have time for, because we don't know Jay, to see what he's doing. He's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so glad. First of all, I just want to say also that for young Black people to have mentors like Brother Mike, Felton, and Jay Dwayne, that is awesome. I meet with a wonderful young Black lady at the library, and she says, you know, young Black girls don't think of being library technicians. And anyway, just to have people as role models like you all, it's inspiring. So I'd love to hear what Jay Dwayne does.
Yes, ma'am. My wife and I started an organization called Love is a Parable. It's a nonprofit, and we do value-based and love-focused education. And so basically what we did was take the 19 years that I spent in higher ed, the 10 years in healthcare, and my wife, the 16 years she did, everything they told us we couldn't do, we created an organization to do it. And we believe that we help people understand that values shape the way people see themselves, but also how they see others. And we help them identify those values so that they can have more meaningful relationships. And it works the same way in business and things like that. Dr. Sergey came up with a theory called the self-congruity theory that basically says people make purchases based off of their personality type. Well, we took that and expanded it and said people make decisions off of the things that they value. And that's what we've been doing for the last 4 years now. And we work with organizations to help them get along, but also be productive and thrive at the same time. And I know you guys, because I tune in almost every week. And I work with Meryl and Adrian with NC 100 because we partner and do things in the school system and things like that. But I feel like I know you guys, so.
Same here, Jay. And I don't think about it, Gregory and Julia. I'm often reading the comments and I'm going back and forth on things. And yeah, you're right. For the physical part of the space, I thought I did enough. But Gregory and Julia, I understand why you needed a little bit more. Yeah, I feel like I know Jay. I feel like I know him.
And I'm sorry. I feel like I know them too. So I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Y'all cousins. I'm sorry.
Hey, all good, man. Mike, that's what you said the space was, man. And it certainly is. All are welcome. Come join us. Go ahead, Julia.
No, that's just awesome what you're doing. And Gregory, I'm going to let you chime in.
There's one word that comes to mind, Felton, when talking about learning who we are and uncovering who we are. And that's the process of maturity. And I think about Mike, and I think about his revelation and the maturity that he's experienced. And when we pause before we anger, or we don't even recognize ourselves as that angry person we used to be, that's because of maturity. Maturity is a process. It's becoming who we are. And when we become that wise man, even before we are an old man, when we become that wise man, it's because we have matured into that space.
And do you go by Jay or Jay Dwayne? Or how should we?
Either one is fine. Jay or Jay Dwayne is fine. You know, in the South, we got to give it a double name.
Yeah. I know. Like, yeah, got it. What Jay Dwayne said was about being open to a mentor. I think openness, being open, being vulnerable, so we can learn and expand our consciousness every day.
Resilience, right?
Resilience.
Yeah. And you can find peace in resilience if you are just like understanding that there's something coming, whether you know it or not. You can actually find some peace, and that goes into the Stoicism and all of those great philosophers. And I meant to say it was the allegory of the cave. Socrates is what I think you were referring to, Jay. I had to look up what I knew it was about the cave, but the allegory of the cave, where the guys are sitting there watching their shadows, and they're just not thinking that something's happening in the world behind them. And I think one of them gets up and turns around. It's a whole bunch of stuff. So check it out if you ever get a chance. I remember it, but I kind of half remember it. But it was it was exactly what you meant in terms of kind of existing or living, so to speak. You just, kind of like a lump on a log, or you want to actually go see what this thing is about called life. I got one final question, and I think it'll take us out of here. So I want to make sure I get this one in. I did have to skip a few, which is always a wonderful thing. I always enjoy us having a conversation. So if I don't get to all my questions, it generally means that it has been a really good conversation. And Jay, I think you're a big contributor to that tonight. I appreciate your presence. And of course, Mike and Julian. I hate Bob fell off the line. I think it was the wherever he's at, the connection was kind of bad last week, but here we are. So I'm going to ask this question, give a short or medium range answer, because it's a kind of long question, and I know sometimes my questions can get a little complicated. So it kind of piggybacks and dovetails, however you want to say it, into the last comments that I made previous to my last bit of rambling. When adversity comes, and it always does, are you totally reactive, or have you been waiting for the challenge? That kind of goes back into that resilience thing. I think I have a good temperature of the room I'm in, but when adversity comes, and it always does, are you totally reactive, or have you been waiting for the challenge? Brother Mike, start us off.
All right, my bad. Camera problems. Stay ready. You ain't got to get ready. Adversity is gonna come. Adversity is gonna stay. Always in life. It's how you handle adversity. Don't allow it to control you. You control it. If you, God told me, yeah, 36 years. I met him in a federal joint out in South Carolina, Edgefield. He said, don't allow nothing outside of you to determine or dictate your day. And I said, I looked at this man and said, I got a little 70 months. You got 36 years. And you can tell me that? So I utilized that when I came outside the wall. Adversity, I've encountered so much adversity coming home. Man, I just say, devil, what's next? Okay, all right, here we go. I got a checkoff list of things now. Like, as you were stating earlier, I don't respond to things like I used to. No. I had a situation. I called Bob. I text Bob, said, are you free? Can we talk? How should I handle this situation? It's going to come. So many things this week came up. But I respond different now because of growth. Because of people like y'all. Because as we stated earlier, because of my two queens and my young man that just came into the world and my other young man, my reaction, everything don't need a reaction. Everything don't need my response. My choice and decision that I choose to make in life will not just affect me, but affect my family. If I choose to respond to adversity, if I choose to allow adversity to affect me, if I choose. See, it's a choice. If you choose or choose not to. So which one will you choose? I choose not to and find a way to challenge it. Everything don't need a response. So that's how I handle adversity now. What's the situation? I evaluate it and I dissect and say, well, bam, here we go. This is how I can solve the situation and be less headache and less problems.
That's it.
Let me say that. It's not easy.
No, never that.
So let me clarify people say, well, oh, it's not that easy. You don't do everything that easy. And let me just say, it's not easy. It's a process. I am growing there daily. So let me put that out there for people that's watching. Oh, you don't have every situation like that. But you take my words and run with it. So I am growing at this situation. It's a growth thing. Percentage-wise, I'm 40%. I got 60 more to go on this thing. I might be 85 still working. I might be at 40. So let me just say that.
Nah, man, absolutely. It is definitely a process, and it requires as much energy as you can give it at the moments that you can give it. And then sometimes you got to take a break. It is not something that you can just put a Band-Aid on or put some super glue on and carry on about your day. If it's not repaired whole, if it's not made whole, then you might need to come back to it later. But understand how we maneuver is what's important and critical. That's what some elements of stoicism are about. Something's going to happen. Can't always be good. Be prepared for the good just as much as you're prepared for the bad. And then you can live somewhere in that little middle area that just keeps you a little bit insulated from going too high or dropping off the face of the earth. So yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. What about you, Gregory and Julia? When it comes, what do you do when adversity strikes?
Good. So we have a saying amongst ourselves that it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. So what can we learn from this situation? It's like Brother Mike said, it's a choice. Do we react? Do we get mad? Do we get angry? Or do we respond? Do we take a breath? Do we think about it and think, well, sometimes gifts look differently. So maybe it's something we're supposed to learn from, or maybe it's an opportunity for learning and growth. So I liked what Brother Mike says. It's a choice, and we're evolving, and that's the only. You said it about the swords. We don't grow when things are easy, and a diamond doesn't become a diamond from a hunk of coal without pressure. So we need that. We need that to grow and learn, and somehow we need to embrace it. It's hard at the time, but when we look back on it, we're always glad, aren't we, for those tough decisions we made or tough choices.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that there's a really favorite popular word right now, and that's authenticity. And authenticity is a brilliant word. It's a wonderful word. Wouldn't we all like to have it? Well, sometimes it's a matter of faking it till we make it. Sometimes we just have to act like it. Sometimes we just have to act like it, believe it, and then finally we'll make it.
Act as if we're the soul that we can be.
You guys are saying some things that my grandmother has said a time or two in our moments together.
And we wish we'd known your grandmother, because we loved your mother.
Yeah, well, you definitely you've met her in spirit. That's for sure. She is someone that was near and dear to all of us, and some people that I'll never know. I used to get jealous when people that were outside of the family would call her mother or something. That's my grandma, but had to grow up, had to let that go, and
you had to learn to share.
There you go. Had to learn to share. Absolutely. Jay, what are your thoughts on this last bit of the thing? What does that adversity do for you? You gonna confront it, run towards it, or you gonna just try to figure it out? What you gonna do?
Man, y'all about to make the Georgia and me come out, because I'm not as mature as my cousins down there. I don't welcome adversity. I think it's a process of, for me, and I will say, being a Black man, I think we fight so much. I look for moments of relief. So for me, it feels like another thing. One of the things, like, for instance, me and my wife talk about this all the time. When I worked in higher ed, as long as I was in the service-oriented capacity, my jobs were cake. As soon as I crossed over into academia, and when I became a campus college chair, which is equivalent of a dean, man, that's when I hit adversity. When I'm writing grants and they want me to do a service, I get them. But when I start talking about a learning paradigm, I lose them. So those are the type of things that are frustrating for me. And so I do tend to react according to the level of adversity that I'm going through. And I don't like it. I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting. And that's all I was sitting there thinking. Like, I wish I could be more positive in that regard. But truth be told, when adversity strikes, for me, it feels like another thing, and I don't want to deal with it.
I definitely don't think we are in disagreement about that sentiment, Jay. I think it's just the understanding, and I know you have it because you just alluded to it. You know it's coming. You know it can't be sweet the whole time. At some point, you're gonna step in some dirt in your nice new kicks. So
a man can dream, Amy. A man can dream.
A man can dream.
Felton, I got a quick question.
That's good. Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
Jay, are you an artist?
Well, yeah. It just depends on which type of artist we're talking about.
Do you find joy and relief in your art?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, Greg is a heck of a painter, and I was glad to. I don't know if you noticed that Greg, when I posted those pictures of some of the artwork, a lot of people were appreciative. Jay, that is critical. That outlet is critical, and something you said earlier, I definitely wanted to respond to briefly. People also don't necessarily appreciate artists. And it comes from the seeming ease that you were referencing that comes with the creation that you make, whether it's words or whether it's painting. I'm not sure. Music, I think it's not as appreciated in certain instances because people think it just comes so naturally. But I don't know if they realize the inner, and I won't call it turmoil, but because sometimes it's just it's not a frustration. It's just
it's tension.
Tension. Yeah, it's got to find its way out, and it's almost like when you're popping your fingers or something like that. You know it needs to pop, and sometimes you got to fight it a little bit before it finally does. That tension has to find that release, and it can be the most beautiful thing once you have that moment. Oh, I got it. Now I know what I want to say. In my case, I know what I want to write. I know what I want this to look like when I write it down. And Gregory, when you're doing that paint, I got it. That's the way I wanted it to look. That one stroke, that brilliant stroke. And Jay, whatever your art is, man, it's that moment of that. Oh gosh, the word is escaping me at the euphoria. That euphoric moment of like, I got it. So yeah, some people have to take drugs for it, and some people have to do other things. But sometimes an artist can just reach that place organically, and it's no different. The high is the same. Look, this has been awesome. Jay, I'm so glad you could join us on camera this evening. I look forward to seeing you in the space again. Bob, I know you're going to probably watch and catch up later, but appreciate you for joining us. I hate that the technical difficulties kept you off. Greg and Julia, as always, appreciate you guys. We'll be talking real soon. We got some planning to do. I'm looking forward to it. Jay, I hope you can make it up. We'll definitely get the communications out to everyone, and it'll be a nice in-person gathering is our hope. Everybody acts correctly. Go ahead, Greg.
I had a question. Felton, these conversations keep getting better and better. Do you come up with the topics?
It's all up there somewhere. It's that creative thing, right? It's all up there somewhere.
Excellent, and so appreciate, like Brother Mike said, everybody in the squares. We love everybody in the squares.
Yeah. This is good stuff. You guys don't understand. This is something that's become so important to me, more important to me than I could have ever dreamed. And I look forward to seeing you guys each and every week. I really do. Thank you, Gregory and Julia for being here. Brother Mike, thank you for participating, even though you're on the road, man. That means a lot. We got some talking to do here pretty soon. Also, it'll be a busy couple weeks before I slide back into academia. Dawn, always appreciate your presence, and thank you. We enjoyed you, even though it was just the energy you were sending us from watching. I appreciate you, Dawn. Take care. Danya, great job. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and enjoy your weekend. It's going to be a beautiful one. Take care. All right.
Safe travels, Felton.
Thank you. Take care. See you guys.